Okay, everybody. Happy Friday, and I hope everyone have a good weekend. Feel a lot better just do one show, but we got a lot to cover. I got a lot of new videos I want to play. Tim, Lucy, Kay, Ann should be in a minute. Oh, where's she at? Kay, she had a good report on her doctor today, so she'll be able to have her surgery, I think, on Ann. What you doing, Lucy? Tim? Carol's not in yet. So I'm going to show a couple things I'm going to read. First one I can do on the phone, then the second one I'll share the screen. It says there's no government, just secret society pretending to be one they don't lead. They manage the illusion. So the next one I'm going to read is you guys be shocked on what's your name on the judge. Oh wait, here's another one I want to read real quick. So the airport in Charlotte's airport is raising their parking prices as much as 40%. So much. I don't know if that's a video or not. Oh, that was that one. Oh, this one here. Justice, Justice Amy Colbert Barrett has a secret identity. Barrett was trained as a child by scientists, and his secret weapon is of a foreign power. You guys all knew about that? This one's 8 minutes.
Payers stealing funds away from the most vulnerable individuals in this country, people who needed mental health services, developmental services, autism, daycare. Instead, individuals came in much from the Somalian community and stole dollars from those people who needed it and put it in their own pockets and enriched themselves. Did it right under Governor Walz's nose. And we believe that he didn't just know about it, that he may be complicit in it as well.
Do you believe there are any cases in Minnesota where the ICE agents have gone too far?
Our ICE agents are following the law and running their operations according to training. Last night, what we saw was 3 individuals weaponize shovels and brooms and attack an ICE officer that had to defend himself. So we're hopeful that we don't see that again, that these protesters and violent rioters will be held accountable for the actions that they're taking, and that our officers can do their work safely.
What about that officer that you were mentioning? Can you give us an update on that ICE officer's condition after he was hit with the shovel? And we're seeing those cars looted in Minnesota. Can you provide an update on what the agency is going to do about that, and if you're concerned with the documents that were taken by those?
Well, I believe that those vehicles were FBI vehicles, not our Department of Homeland Security vehicles. So I'm not certain what documents were in there that those criminals may have taken and seen. But I would say that our agent is beat up, he's bruised, he's injured, he's getting treatment, and we're thankful that he made it out alive.
Secretary Noem, are you okay with federal agents and officers violating people's Fourth Amendment rights by asking for papers without reasonable suspicion?
Every single action that our ICE officers take is according to the law and following protocols that we have used for years, that this administration has used, that the previous administration used. They are doing everything correctly, and over again in litigation in the courts, we've proven that they've done the right thing.
Why is it within their right to do that? Why is it within their right to ask for papers without reasonable suspicion?
With the president, sorry,
You
said you discussed the Insurrection Act with the president. Did you recommend that?
No, we just discussed it, that it was one of the options that he had constitutionally. And we talked about the fact that we're going to continue our operations in Minneapolis and have the resources that we need to get the job done. Yes.
How many tankers is our Coast Guard tracking that are loose, and are any of them out of the Caribbean that you're tracking worldwide?
I can't speak to the specifics of the operation, although we are watching the entire shadow fleet and how they're moving. I'm very proud of our Coast Guard, how they've partnered with the Department of War to do unprecedented actions and bringing these flags under jurisdiction that often, or these ships under jurisdiction that in many instances aren't flagged or they're affiliated with a country moving this unauthorized oil to avoid our sanction policy.
Did the president say
yes. What's that?
Like the video that was posted this morning, do you watch any of those operations?
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. Yes, absolutely, we do. We haven't slept a lot lately between the Coast Guard operations, what they're doing in partnership with the Department of War in dealing with the shadow fleet. What we're also doing as far as operations with law enforcement across the country. The Department of Homeland Security is very busy.
Can you respond to
yes.
Madam Secretary, perhaps to follow up? Why are we seeing Americans being asked on the street to provide proof of citizenship in Minnesota? Is that targeted enforcement? And are you advising Americans to carry proof of citizenship?
In every situation, we're doing targeted enforcement. If we are on a target and doing an operation, there may be individuals surrounding that criminal that we may be asking who they are and why they're there and having them validate their identity. That's what we've always done, and asking people who they are so that we know who's in those surroundings. And if they are breaking our federal laws, we will detain them as well until we we run that processing.
Is there a concern
Yes.
that say what the final straw?
I'm gonna go right here.
Do you think that there needs to be an Insurrection Act invoked?
Oh, I think that the president has that opportunity in the future. It's his constitutional right, and it's up to him if he wants
Do
to
you think
utilize
he's
it.
likely to do it?
I don't know.
But
It
if he
has-
leaves the
It
situation,
say-
will it lead to more deadly killings in Minnesota if the Insurrection Act is invoked?
If anything doesn't change with Governor Walz, I don't anticipate that the streets will get any safer or more peaceful. Governor Walz and his leadership team need to come to us and find out how we can work together like we have in many other states. We didn't see this kind of reaction in Louisiana when we ran our operations, exactly how we are running them in Minneapolis. But we had a very different response because we had leaders that were working with us. If you saw our operations in Florida, extremely successful. In Minneapolis so far, we brought hundreds of criminals off the streets that were dangerous to society and dangerous to that community. We would wish that Governor Walz could take an example from the governor of Louisiana, the governor of Florida, and work with us to do the right thing for his people.
Your officers are dealing with more and more protesters. Do you think they need more de-escalation training, though, given some of the scenarios we have seen videos of interactions?
You know, the officers that we have out there are very highly trained and skilled, specific for the operations that they're doing. They're utilizing the most gifted individuals on these operations to go out and to do enforcement, because many times if they're going after murderers, they're going after professionals and gangs and terrorists that are here in our country illegally. And I'll remind you, the only reason we're in this situation is because the Biden administration allowed 20 million people to come into this country unvetted. My every day is spent thinking about the known terrorists that are in this country that I just haven't found yet. The suspected terrorists, the criminals, the murderers, the pedophiles that are out there on the streets that we need to find and get off the streets because Joe Biden opened up our borders and allowed that invasion to happen. If you can imagine the kind of dysfunctional criminal gangs and organizations that use that open border as an opportunity to infiltrate America, it's overwhelming at times. And that's why President Trump is so strong at taking action and making sure he's in every single state following through on his commitments to every single citizen.
Did the president say what his final straw would be to invoke the Insurrection Act if he did?
No, this president uses all the information and intelligence that he can get. That's why he calls me, he calls Pete, he calls local law enforcement. He talks to those individuals and agents as well that are involved that he knows well. This president makes fully informed decisions and utilizes his authorities when it's appropriate.
Are you worried that bringing in the
Marina
military would
Machado is
inflame the
coming to the White
situation?
House today. Are you going to be in the meeting because a lot of illegals are from Venezuela?
I think
or are
it-
you going to talk with Delcy Rodriguez like Trump?
I think I have other commitments today. We are putting in the new commandant of the Coast Guard. He is having his swearing in ceremony, so I'll be doing that. And then I have some meetings with law enforcement. So I will not be in that meeting, but the president will keep me informed.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bringing in
Have a
the
good
Number
one.
2 at ICE.
Fraud scheme.
Okay. Update on what's her name there?
by daycare centers run by Somali immigrants engulfed the state in controversy. Those scams, allegedly fleecing taxpayers of billions of dollars, drew concern and condemnation across the country, including from President Trump.
I think it's about
Staggering
5.
sums of money involved are only part of the story. Perhaps an even bigger scandal is how long the fraud went on. Now, a News Nation investigation has pieced together a disturbing paper trail that appears to show officials were warned that the fraud was happening years earlier. Our investigative correspondent, Rich McHugh, has been following the story and the money that traces all the way from the land of the 10,000 lakes to the war-torn wastelands of East Africa, quite possibly ending in the hands of terrorist group. Rich, what have you found?
Hi, Elizabeth. So a retired naval intelligence officer says he tracked hundreds of millions of dollars flowing from fake Minneapolis daycares through suitcases at Minneapolis Airport to Somalia, straight to the terror group Al-Shabaab. Philip Parrish was part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in 2016. He connected the dots to U.S. designated terror fronts. His ignored warnings tonight raised new questions about fraud and taxpayer dollars.
In 2016, we were already tracking that it was adding up to hundreds of millions of dollars. And that was just what we were tracking then.
In 2016, Philip Parrish, then a lieutenant in the Navy, was ordered to join the Joint Terrorism Task Force and follow the flow of money to terror groups in Africa and the Middle East. Then he found an alarming tie to the U.S.
There's an interesting pattern here happening where the money's coming out of Minneapolis International Airport. Well, where is it coming from? Are they getting it in Minneapolis? Where is it coming from? Well, that led to then some research about a list of fake companies. Well, it's all cash that's coming out of these fake daycares and/or daycares with inflated numbers.
Parrish connected the dots for military operations abroad.
How much money?
Hundreds of millions. You know, when you're talking suitcases of evidence reports, of suspicious activity reports from banking, TSA reports from the airport, and then the military side of the house tracking who it got to, you're talking about tens of thousands, $300,000, $500,000, all these different varying amounts daily. The open source material will tell you every other week out of Terminal 2, but it was daily.
In 2016, 2017, you were with JTTF, and in your professional opinion and experience, the money that you saw leaving Minneapolis Airport, the hundreds of millions of dollars, was that ending up in the hands of terrorists?
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Direct portions of it were ending up in the hands of terrorists, absolutely. All the way from pirate boats being bought to essentially the administration of a terrorist network administratively.
Parrish said they tracked the money couriers to the Netherlands, then to Nairobi, Kenya, then straight into Mogadishu, into money exchanges called hawalas, the same exchanges that the Department of Treasury had already designated in 2012 as fronts for the terror group Al-Shabaab. And while the military depended on his reports, he says the public has largely ignored them.
Hundreds of men and women like me know the truth. It's been the truth all along. We don't know why we've been ignored, other than thieving and grifting, a culture of thieving and grifting that was intentional, no matter how it started.
Parrish retired from the Navy in 2019 as a lieutenant commander. He's now running for governor here as a Republican. He lays most of the blame, he says, on what he calls the Democratic establishment here, but he's clear. He says politicians on both sides of the aisle, Elizabeth, were well aware of this for years. Back to you.
Pretty shocking.
Okay, another big video. I got a short clip, and I got a 5-minute video from Texas update on someone there. Okay. Yes, she's on a book tour.
Oprah is opening up, writes USA Today, or People, we got it from both, about her weight loss journey, Maureen.
You don't say. She never talks about it.
Never. It's like pulling teeth. She's opening up about her weight loss journey in a new book, sharing how she overcame the shame of not being able to manage my weight. It's called Enough, Your Health, Your Weight, and What It's Like to Be Free. Enough is a collaboration between Winfrey and Dr. Anya M. Jastiboff, an endocrinologist and professor at Yale, blah, 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 blah. Okay, in Enough, Winfrey recalls, quote, one of the most humiliating moments of her life when Joan Rivers asked her how she gained weight on The Tonight Show in 1985. From there, Winfrey became a running joke. Winfrey has previously credited GLP-1s for more than just weight loss. She said it's helped her strengthen her relationship with her longtime partner, Stedman.
Where's Stedman?
Where is Stedman, Maureen?
Where is Stedman?
We did a whole episode on this on The Nerve.
We're still investigating.
Yeah, we don't know. We've got the little dog looking for him.
I have updates.
Oh, okay. So, but allegedly, Oprah has strengthened her relationship with the, we believe, missing Stedman. Winfrey, let's see. It's given her more energy and it's helped her consume less alcohol. Now, here's this. This is the best part. This is why this is why we're doing this segment. She says, you all know, to People magazine in December, I've been on this journey for most of my life. My highest weight was 237 pounds, which I have to say I call bullshit and I think it was higher. I don't know if there is another public person whose weight struggle has been explained exploited as much as mine over the years.
Oh, please.
Exploited?
It's her narrative. It's her favorite narrative. It's her favorite moneymaker.
Who is she kidding? Like, oh, Mean Joan Rivers set her up for this, and then the terrible industry just kept exploiting it. I'm just going to like quickly toss you a soundbite of the exploitation that she seems to have forgotten about.
This is what 67 pounds of fat looks like. I can't lift it.
Yeah, we're looking at a
Now,
skinny Oprah.
When you talk about, Jimmy, is this gross or what? It is amazing to me that I can't lift it, but I used to carry it around every day.
Who were the people who exploited her, Maureen?
You know, that was before a GLP-1 existed.
Yeah.
She did it. She did it somehow, you know?
Oprah is on a book tour.
Okay, latest update on Oprah. 4-minute clip out of Texas.
Torso. That's how much Victor Carl Honey was worth to a medical school in Texas. Without his consent or his family's knowledge, his body was frozen, cut into pieces, and sent out across the country after he died. We learned about Honey because he was on a long list of unclaimed bodies acquired by that med school, and we wanted to know how he, a brother, a father, and a veteran who earned burial with military honors, could be treated this way.
I think they say homeless black man, he ain't got no family.
That's
They don't care about
there.
him. You were wrong about this one.
Honey died alone at a hospital in Dallas in September 2022. After a social worker there couldn't find any family, he was sent to the medical examiner, where an investigator struggled to find or make contact with Honey's family. And so, less than a month later, the search was ended. Even though Honey's son shares the same first and last name and lives in the Dallas area, Honey was deemed unclaimed and brought to the University of North Texas Health Science Center, where he was dissected and studied by medical students and companies. This isn't new. The unclaimed dead have long been used for medical teaching and research. In the 1800s, body snatchers dug up the graves of the poor and formerly enslaved and sold them to med schools. Eventually, states made it legal for schools to train and experiment on unclaimed bodies instead. But today, much of the medical community has moved on from that practice, treating human bodies with the same dignity as living patients, meaning consent is needed for what happens after death. But this med school in Texas did the opposite. More than 2,300 unclaimed bodies have been given to them since 2019, including Honey's. And a big reason why is money. Burying and cremating thousands of unclaimed bodies is expensive for local medical examiners and coroners. The bodies are disproportionately Black men, and many are mentally ill and homeless, often making it far more difficult to reach next of kin who would otherwise pay the bill. By sending out body parts and renting school facilities to outside groups that wanted access to their supply of bodies, the program helped bring in $2.5 million a year to the school. But when we reached out to dozens of companies, teaching hospitals, and med schools that leased bodies from the Health Science Center, 10 of them didn't know that some of those bodies were unclaimed.
First time I heard about it was when NBC News contacted me. It says donated on the paperwork,
What did you think that meant?
that they donated their bodies for this purpose.
Are you going to change course in any way now knowing what you know?
Yes, absolutely. We need to know exactly who consented. I would like to know that.
As we investigated this story, the Health Science Center defended its practices, arguing that using unclaimed bodies was essential for training future doctors. But after we shared our detailed findings, the program was suspended. Its top officials were fired, and an internal investigation was launched. However, that doesn't change the immense impact it already had on unclaimed people like Honey, who was dissected with scalpels and bone saws and distributed on the open market. Over a period of 7 months, Honey's right leg was used in a training at the Health Science Center. Bones from his skull were shipped to Fort Sam Houston, and his torso was sent to Pittsburgh. When the med school was finished with the bodies, they were cremated, even as some families were searching for them. NBC obtained government docs and data on the acquisition, dissection, and distribution of unclaimed bodies by the Health Science Center over a 5-year period. And we found 12 cases where families found out weeks, months, or years later that their loved one was provided to the med school. 5 of those 12 families learned what happened from us. Honey's son learned of his death a year and a half after it happened, through a chance encounter with a stranger who was struck by how similar their names were. But it was one of our reporters who broke the news of how Honey's body was used, and his family was appalled.
The 10 years we were married, he never wanted to be an organ donor. We talked about it.
His son said that he might have been open to donating his dad's body for research, but that he should have been asked. In June of this year, Honey's family was finally able to lay him to rest in a burial with military honors. 600 122 days after he died.
You would think in this day's time, this doesn't happen here in America. But yeah, it does. It did.
Very sad story there. Okay, guys, Tina Peters, I can't remember if I played it.
Was an elected county clerk with a spotless record. No prior criminal history, not even a traffic ticket. Her job, under Colorado law, was clear. The county clerk is directly responsible for preserving election records. Statute 15.060 states it plainly. The responsibility for election records belongs to the county clerk. Everything changed after the 2020 presidential election. Tina noticed irregularities in the vote counts that didn't add up. Concerned about the integrity of the results, she did exactly what the law required. She preserved forensic images of the voting system hard drives before any records could be altered or destroyed. Those images revealed troubling discrepancies, potential evidence of fraud that needed investigation. Tina didn't hide her findings. She prepared 3 detailed reports documenting the issues and presented them directly to the Mesa County Commissioners, Janet Rowland, Cody Davis, and Scott McInnes, her elected bosses. She asked for an official state inspection of the machines. Their response? Silence. No action. Deaf ears. With her official channels blocked, Tina sought an independent expert to examine the system. That is when the backlash began.
What do you guys think of this
The
one?
Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, publicly declared Tina guilty of compromising voting machines, 2 full years before any charges were even filed or a trial began.
Well, I was the first Secretary of State in the country to actually have to deal with an insider threat. When the Mesa County clerk working with QAnon and the MyPillow guy compromised her own voting equipment trying to prove the big lie.
In a 2022 debate, Griswold repeatedly attacked Tina by name, laying the groundwork for public opinion against her long before the case went to court. Meanwhile, counties across Colorado were destroying 2020 election records within weeks, not the minimum 6 months required by law. The term Trusted Build, a software update process marketed as an election security measure, was used to justify these destructions. But Trusted Build did not appear anywhere in Colorado's official election statutes and was only added in September of 2025. It was never part of the law Tina was supposed to follow. Tina's images were the only surviving record of what really happened in Mesa County in 2020. When the Department of Justice later requested those records, Griswold's office claimed they didn't have to turn them over because they had already been destroyed. Tina was charged, not with election fraud, but with how she obtained access to the machines, identity theft, impersonating a public official, attempting to influence a public servant, and related offenses. The actual election data and the evidence of irregularities were never allowed to be examined in court. In 2024, Tina was convicted.
I don't think I ever
She was sentenced to 9 years in prison, a harsh punishment for a non-violent first-time offender.
Ms. Peters, you are a privileged person. You are as privileged as they come. You are no hero, you abused your position, and you're a charlatan who used and is still using your prior position in office to peddle a snake oil that's been proven to be junk time and time again. You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen. You have no respect for the checks and balances of government. You have no respect for this court. You have no respect for law enforcement, and you do not have respect for your fellow colleagues. You are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie, as easy it is for you to breathe. And prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us. Prison is the only place that duly meets the purposes of sentencing in this matter. 9 years of incarceration.
Halfway.
But her ordeal didn't end there. As a 70-year-old Gold Star mother, Tina has endured brutal beatings from female gang members in her unit. From a letter by her attorney, Peter Ticktin, in 2021, Dominion, in an effort to cover its tracks, demanded that Jenna Griswold install a trusted build to take place on all Colorado Dominion brand equipment. Clerk Peters was lied to by both Dominion and Ms. Griswold's office and told that the trusted build would not wipe and overwrite the 2020 election data. After the trusted build was installed, Clerk Peters conducted a subsequent preservation of data, and she learned that it had, in fact, wiped and overwritten 29,000 files of the election records which were required to have been preserved by federal law. Clerk Peters' lone copy of the Colorado 2020 election is essential. Upon learning of the lone copy, Dominion immediately contacted Jenna Griswold in her capacity of Secretary of State that Clerk Peters be criminally charged with obtaining a copy of the 2020 election data. Prior to the installation of the trusted build, her life was threatened by a group of inmates to stab her and to kill her. Presently, she is in the smallest cell of her unit. It was formerly used for a washing machine and dryer. Despite having no disciplinary write-ups, she was moved to isolation under the phony narrative that it was for her own protection. But the truth is, the jail has a dedicated safe wing for low-risk inmates like Tina, non-gang members, and those without issues. Why wasn't she placed there? Because that wing allows unsupervised phone calls, which would have let her speak freely about the election irregularities she uncovered. Instead, her communications are heavily monitored and limited, stripping away her First Amendment rights. This isn't about jail policy or her safety, it's about keeping her silent. Many believe these conditions are designed to break her, to prevent her from continuing to speak about what her images revealed. Tina Peters could have looked the other way. She could have signed off on the results and kept her job, her freedom, her reputation. Instead, she chose to protect the integrity of the election process, even when it meant risking everything. She is not in prison because she broke the law to hide fraud. She is in prison because she tried to expose it.
I took one of these copies to every commissioner and to the DA. They did nothing. There were 29,000 election records that you can see on here in orange that were deleted from the people's Mesa County election system when they compared the first image that was taken and the second image. Gone, deleted. Another report, there were 36 wireless devices. Report number 3, ballots go in, there's a second fraudulent database that's created, then the ballot is changed, and we know it's been changed because it's lacking the .sha file. Mr. Rubenstein accused me in court of recording on my iPad. I'm at a commissioner's hearing. They see the iPad in my purse. All of a sudden, 22 minutes they delayed the commissioner's hearing in order to go get a search warrant. And that's when all hell broke loose. They came in, descended on it like it was a drug bust. Grabbed the iPad. 66 recordings were extracted from the iPad. None of the 66 videos were recorded on February 7th, 2022. Then later, Rubenstein admitted he didn't know if I was recording or not. During the time they took this break, Janet Rowland bends down and says she won't want to come back.
What do you guys think?
And Cody Davis, that's sitting right back here, said, sacrificial lamb. He called me a sacrificial lamb.
Tina Peters followed her legal duty as county clerk. She reported suspected fraud through proper channels. She preserved records she was responsible for protecting. And for that, she's been made a political prisoner. The public deserves to know the truth about 2020. The public deserves answers about why election records were destroyed so quickly. And Tina Peters deserves justice. Demand transparency. Demand accountability. Demand freedom for Tina Peters.
Griswold, elected with George Soros money, has offered to let me return to my job in elections, the one that you elected me to do. If and only if I make a public statement saying we don't need more transparency in our elections and that there was no voter fraud. I say never.
What do you guys think? Very important video there. The next one is 6 minutes. Another one, I'm not sure if I played it. Or let me know.
All of that
Anybody
will be
remember
available.
this one?
Or the capability will be there. You will
Mm-hmm.
have a wealth transfer. It will be significant. And
I
how
might have played it. I
significant,
can't remember.
nobody really knows because they're doing the calculations right now. I want to build a farm to teach children about farming. I've got already written it out. I have the bullet points. I know what it's going to cost. I know what I'm going to have to do it. I know I'm going to have to hire people to help me. But that's all part of having some kind of a plan. But for me, I don't care if I have a lot of money, if I can do some kind of a good humanitarian project. That's just me. So when we look at this whole thing, there will be a wealth transfer. It will be significant. One trust we haven't talked about is the King Solomon Trust that's held
Hey,
in
have
the
you seen
Philippines.
this one?
Nobody knows how much that's, we know there's a lot of trust money out there, and it's all in silver and gold. It's not in fiat currency. And that's the important part. And when we were going to talk for 30 seconds about crypto.
This is a
You wanna
perfect
do
time,
that?
Lieutenant. Right now, we'll close out the show with your comments on cryptocurrency from retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox. Take it away.
Some
sir.
20 years ago, I was in a discussion with a lady who was the DOJ person put in charge of finding out whether it was illegal, what the mafia drug pushers were using as a system to track their money. That system was crypto. They used the original crypto. And the only way the DOJ ever caught them
A new
and
death clock
figured out
video will be next.
how the money was moving was they arrested a guy and he left his laptop open, and they were able to get into it and find the entire chain of the crypto. So that is in summary where it came from. Japan was the first ones to break through crypto in more detail than what the DOJ did. Blockchain is a result of crypto. Now, if you look at blockchain,
Yeah, that's a good one
it is
too, yeah.
basically crypto.
Told you I got a lot of
What
good
I
ones
have
in
heard
tonight.
is that 99.5% of all crypto will disappear. The reason it will disappear is it has no asset-backed capability. People have bought it with fiat money. There's no asset. It's just a figment of imagination. And some guys made a lot of money on it. But yeah, the estimate is 99.5% of it will disappear.
You know, our good friend Juan O'Savin has been on the record, on camera and off camera with me, stating, and a long time ago, that crypto itself was a black hat design, which feeds right into what you've just stated with the mafia and so forth.
Right.
And it was designed to basically, should Hillary have gotten in, which
I
was
told
the plan,
everybody
but God
about your
had a
doctor
different plan,
report.
and here we are.
Yeah.
And so, she was going to then pretty much drive everyone into the crypto and then bankrupt us all through it and laugh all the way to the bank.
Yep.
So it's fascinating. And to our viewers, we talked about this with different guests, Will Barney, Rob Cunningham, and others. of the 7 cryptos that aren't in that situation, that are ISO compliant, that one might want to look towards. But this is great information and great history that you're laying down for us, sir.
Yeah. So it was Black Hat, the cabal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Don't fall for it, folks. You got all these people, especially the younger folks, with all due respect. I can learn from the young folks that they can learn from us. But, I'm rich, phantom rich, backed by nothing. That's the key word. Designed by and controlled by the Black Hats. Get out of that system, folks, and get with the program. Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, we're going to wrap up this show. Any other closing comments or anything you'd like to share with our viewers?
Only that I said early on, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they all have the same kind of birth certificate thing. Australia is a little different, but it's the same kind of thing. Debt,
that's news slavery. For me.
The best is yet to come. Okay, the third new depth clock.
A close eye on this because of the prophecy spoken of in the Bible, the rise of the AC, and the rise of the global AC system. Most of this was talked about in Daniel, but I want to bring something to your attention. In Daniel chapter 12, he's talking about the end of time. It says, at that time, Michael, the great prince who protects your people, will arise. There will be a time of distress such as not happened from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the book, will be delivered. Multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. I'm going to skip to verse 4. It says, but you, Daniel, roll up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. I'm going to skip to verse 9. It says, go your way, Daniel, because the words are rolled up and sealed until the time of the end. Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. None of the wicked will understand, but those who are wise will understand. It is saying that there's text that was rolled up and sealed that will be brought forth until the time of the end, which is now. This text is not adding to or taking away from the Bible because it was already included. It was telling you that this text was going to be brought forth until the time of the end. This is the Book of Mormon, and there's another sealed text spoken of in the Book of Mormon that was brought forth now. This is why it's called the latter days, because it's in the latter days to the end of time. So if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you guys, everything I'm about to show you is in this sealed portion. I'm going to show you everything Trump is doing is fulfilling everything that is going on in this sealed portion. Here it is talking about what we just talked about in Daniel chapter 12. Here it says, if ye are reading my words that are given in this record, then ye are wise and have been guided by the Holy Spirit. And these things which have been sealed are the things which Daniel was not allowed to write, and are the words that are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. In chapter 89, it talks about the prophecies in the Bible are conditional, and there is a chance to repent and keep these prophecies of destruction from being fulfilled. It says, and this is the thing that ye should understand, even though a prophet shall prophesy in the name of the Lord of the great destruction and tribulation that shall come to pass, this does not mean that it shall have to come to pass according to his word. In other words, it doth not mean that ye do not have your free agency to change the course of the events of the future so that these things do not come to pass. For the words of the prophets are given unto you to warn you of the dangers ahead of you for living in wickedness and sin. And the prophets do not know the exactness of the destructions and tribulations that shall come upon you, but they give a generalization of those things which shall come to pass according to the words of the prophecy that they receive from the Holy Ghost. I want to stress the importance where it says that you have your free agency to change the course of the events of the future so these things do not come to pass. That is why during the elections, they were stressing how important these elections were. We had one candidate that was promoting wickedness and the other candidate that was promoting righteousness. That candidate was selling holy Bibles for his campaign with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and it was all included in this Bible that he was selling. Which all of this was drafted by Christians for one nation under God and was formed using what was outlined in Deuteronomy. Now, Trump and Elon were making it very clear how important these elections were, you guys, because of a government that needed to be formed to begin to establish God's kingdom on earth. And the voting was the will of the people, okay? Now here it says, behold, the government shall be established according to the principles and laws of a righteous government, which I have already given unto you and explained this in the record. Nevertheless, so that it might be possible that the Lord shall cut his work short in righteousness and come down among you and begin his reign here again upon the earth before the appointed time of the Father. First principle is that government shall never be self-serving. Second principle of law is this eternal government. Eternal government is that it will guarantee the freedom or the free agency of all those whom it serveth. This is what the sovereignty that the U.S. debt clock has been showing us. We will be given our sovereignty and our freedom back. And the third principle is that the government shall provide the means where.
I believe this is she had a bunch out this week. I think this is the third one. And did you look at? Oh, you can't see it yet, right? I think this is the third one.
By those whom it serves may have an equal opportunity to experience the happiness that they desire. These are the three principles of a righteous government that would need to be implemented so that the Lord shall cut his work short in righteousness and come down among you and begin his reign here again upon the earth before the appointed time of the Father. Again, it says here, therefore, the things I'm about to write unto you are those things that ye can do to bring much peace and happiness upon the earth in the latter days, and cause that the tribulations and destruction that have been prophesied against you shall not come to pass. And here it says, and if ye do these things, then the words of the prophets be fulfilled when they gave unto you the will of the Lord, saying, I will cut my work short in righteousness, for the days come that I will send forth judgment unto victory. Here it says, for the plan of God is based upon eternal laws that govern the eternal world. And these laws are administered by an eternal government. And this government is based upon three eternal principles, which we already went over. It says, if a nation and its government are based upon these eternal principles, then it is a nation under God. It says here, for a nation under God hath no borders that separate it from the rest of the nations of the world that are inhabited by other sons and daughters of God, you guys. And a nation under God would protect the earth and its resources and use them according to that which is good for the earth and also which is good for the people. And a government of a nation under God would judge its success and its compliance with the laws of a righteous government, which laws have been established for all governments that are of God and shall last forever. Trump has always referenced this peace to be everlasting and eternal.
Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East. And let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East.
Now, yesterday, I went over a Gentile servant who would be leading the Gentiles out of captivity, okay? And there will be great blessings, and the Gentiles will be heirs of the Abraham covenant. And they will receive the promised land as their inheritance, okay? Talks about that here in this verse. Verse 44 talks about a sign that will be given unto the Gentiles and the king, which says, and when these things come to pass, that thy seed shall begin to know these things, it shall be given a sign unto them that they may know that the work of the Father hath already commenced unto the fulfilling of the covenant, which he hath made unto the people who are the house of Israel. Now, what is the sign? Verses 45 through 47. And when this day shall come, it shall come to pass that the kings shall shut their mouths, for that which had not been told to them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. For in that day, for my sake, shall the Father work a work, which shall be a great and marvelous work among them, and there shall be among them those who will not believe it, although a man shall declare it unto them. They're talking about a servant, a Gentile servant. But behold, the life of my servant shall be in my hand. Therefore, they shall not hurt him. Although he shall be marred because of them, yet I will heal him. For I will show unto them that my wisdom is greater than the cunning of the devil. This person, this servant, this Gentile servant that leads the Gentiles out of captivity, lifted up out of captivity, which it talks about here, Gentiles lifted up out of captivity and receive the inheritance into the promised land. This servant will be so well known to the point where the kings of the earth shall see the work and the miraculous healing. They will be astonished. It says that even still people will not believe it. Christ said here, therefore it shall come to pass that whosoever will not believe in my words, who am Jesus Christ, who gave this Gentile servant, gave power unto him that he shall bring them forth unto the Gentiles. Whosoever does not believe it shall be cut off from among my people who are of the covenant, which means they do not receive the covenant blessing. This is a warning for all of those false prophets that are telling you that 45 through 47 is the AC, which is not true. The servant was chosen by Christ to do his work. It says that here, therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom the Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is the servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find doing so. And verily I say unto you, he shall make him ruler over all his goods. He's not only talking about regular people here, he's talking about rulers over a nation, okay? All of this starts in America, okay? Trump is leading the Gentiles out of captivity, you guys. America rises first. The Great Jubilee, the wealth transfer. Do not believe any of these false prophets. They tell you this is the AC system. This is not. America rises first. The Gentiles receive their inheritance into the promised land first, and Israel is last. Hey guys, so Trump's about.
So I believe that was the third one she had for this week. And what do you think? Was that? I don't think I replayed it. It was similar to that one. But anyways, that was 3 of them she had this week. Did anybody hear the 5-minute speech with Melania? Save that for later.
Matched. Your support directly advances my mission to prepare America's next generation to use AI to enhance their education and ultimately their careers. Indeed, this is an incredible time. We are living in the age of imagination. The age of imagination is a new era powered by artificial intelligence, where one's curiosity can be satisfied almost magically in seconds. You are fortunate to have the capability to fulfill your dreams through the power of learning, with AI serving as the primary engine for creative exploration. History reminds us that curiosity is the driving force behind every great achievement. The world's greatest minds, our writers, architects, scientists, and painters, all had endless interest about human nature, and they all questioned that which was yet to be answered. Are you ready to produce your own movie? Do you want to build the next dress to impress empire? Have you ever wondered how to become the next master artist? Create your own song. Every giant, at some point in time, questions the status quo. Their singular vision pushes humanity in a new direction. Artificial intelligence is changing today's world, and your curiosity should serve as a driving force. For the first time in history, the young girl dreaming of becoming a fashion designer and the young boy who wants to stand up his school animated superhero series can do so from their own home. Artificial intelligence provides all the tools needed to implement your creative vision today. You can develop movie characters, scripts, fashion, music, art, the entire ecosystem, all with AI. But what do you need to start? You need to harness your imagination. In the new era, the most powerful skill is knowing what to ask, why it matters, and how to think beyond the worst answer. I encourage you to be stubbornly curious, think outside the box, and question everything. Creators must stretch their minds to think differently. The world of possibility is endless, and AI is extending the conceptual in ways never dreamed of before. In the past, memorization unlocked opportunity. Today, your curiosity will open new doors to meaning, innovation, and leadership. But we must remember, although artificial intelligence can generate images and information, only humans can generate meaning and purpose. Deep thinking, patience, and staying curious are where purpose begins. Today, I urge you to take action. Use AI to unlock new parts of your imagination. Lead with your ideas, stay sharp, but remember, never surrender your thinking to AI. Choose to let your imagination drive your intellectual progress, but never use AI as a quick solution. Be intellectually honest with yourself. Use AI as a tool, but do not let it replace your personal intelligence. Pursue understanding with passion like no generation before. Make an impact. Knowledge is power. Nobody can take it away from you. Good luck, and I wish you a successful year ahead.
Okay, the latest with our First Lady. I don't know if anybody saw that.
That never sleeps. The city of life's dreams. This city that our ancestors brought forth in prosperity and greatness and liberty. This city will turn into a forbidden place of darkness. The blood, sweat, and tears that the city of New York was built on will turn into a virtual refugee shelter for the radical Muslim ideology. This is now the most dangerous time for our citizens of New York. This mayor will destroy this city. We are obligated to demand our rights for our private sanctuary, our businesses, our property that we all have worked so hard for. And this 35-year-old mayor has no right dictating the rules of socialism for a city built on our highest principles with brick and stone by hardworking Americans. This must be stopped, and his mayoralty should be terminated immediately. You, the people of the greatest city, New York, are in danger of losing your city to this communist fool. We, the people, must stand for the greatest nation's purpose, the honor of our flag, the red, white, and blue, and for which it stands, one nation under God, and liberty and justice for all. This country, the United States of America, is the land of our greatest achievement, the American dream. And we, the people, have put our trust in the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He and only he can stop this horror, as this Mayor Mamdani will try to destroy New York's wealth and turn it into a socialist crap city. Let this be a warning to the people. And may God bless. May God bless.
Okay, what's his name there? This one is, I believe, 8 minutes. Did we play this one?
I'm watching what I guess used to be MAGA now get all entangled in foreign interest, foreign propaganda. And I'm just sitting here and I'm saying, what's going on? And then I'm getting attacked. I'm being told I'm not MAGA. Let's pump the brakes for a second. What happened to MAGA? And I'm not trying to do some cliche, oh, it's MAGA now. No, I'm genuinely curious. What happened? Because none of my policies changed. What policy have I expressed that's changed? I've got foreigners that are making demands of the American people. They're literally making demands. They're saying, oh, we owe the Middle East. We owe Iran. We owe Venezuela. We owe all these people. They're saying, oh, Trump betrayed us. Trump abandoned us. Wait a second. Trump is the president of the United States. Why do we tolerate these entitled brats?
What do you guys think of this one so far?
Why do we tolerate these entitled foreigners who think that they just get special access to our blood and treasure like we're their slaves? Why do you guys tolerate this stuff? I'm sorry. My policies haven't changed. I'm sorry. Have we seen any deep state arrests? Have we seen any arrests for the stolen election? Have we seen any arrests from the January 6th inside job, Fedsurrection? Have we seen any justice for the January 6th political prisoners, people that were put in prison for speech? By the way, myself included. What about all these leftist protests? I thought we were going to shut down the people that funded these protests and organized these protests. You know, the George Soroses of the world, those types. Nope, they're still out in the streets attacking ICE agents, causing chaos. Deep state arrests. I mean, what are we doing? And then I sit here and I'm countering all of the foreign propaganda and I'm getting attacked? What happened to you guys? Not what happened to me. None of my politics have changed. None. Tell me what policy has changed from my perspective. I'm still here fighting for the same stuff. Did you know 367,000 Americans had their homes foreclosed on last year? It's actually a little bit more than that. 367,000 Americans couldn't afford their mortgage because their property taxes were too high or they just can't afford their mortgages anymore. What happened to America first? What happened to no more regime change wars? Now you guys love it? Now you guys literally side with foreigners and foreign propagandists over the people that got arrested and imprisoned for speech who have been fighting for Trump for 10 years? And now you ride with what? The neocons, Lindsey Graham, foreign propagandist, regime change war propagandist? Now you sit here and you get cucked by foreign propagandists that are demanding America, demanding Trump come to their aid? I thought we were done with this stuff. These people go all around the world and start fights, and then they want us to clean up the mess? And they want us to pay for it in our blood and treasure? What happened? What is going on? Epstein files, transparency. What about Doge? What about all the arrests, the waste, the fraud, and the abuse? I have not changed. I have remained consistent. And now you guys are literally siding with Lindsey Graham, the neocons, foreigners, foreign propagandists who are making a mockery of you, treating Americans like we're their chattel, and you guys tolerate this stuff, and then you come after me? I just don't get it. again, I'm not trying to be condescending. I just don't get it. I'm genuinely asking, what happened, guys? What happened? Point to anything I've changed. Point to any policy stance that I've changed on. Point to a single one. You can't do it. I'm not the one out here promoting foreign propaganda. I'm standing up to it. I'm countering it. I'm calling it out. I'm not the one saying, let's get involved in another regime change war. What is going on? What happened to America first? What happened to arresting the deep state? What happened to the Clinton crime family? What happened to the Biden crime family? What happened to all the corruption, the treason of Barack Obama? And now you guys want to talk about foreign affairs and foreign entanglements and regime change wars, and then you want to come after me? I'm not the one that's changed. I don't get it, honestly. It's really strange, especially with this recent wave. How are you guys not offended? How are you guys not offended that you have literal foreign propagandists demanding that our president work for them and demanding that more U.S. blood and treasure gets spilled in these foreign regime change wars? How can you guys tolerate this stuff? What happened to you guys? And so I guess I would just ask this then. Fine, we have disagreements. Okay, so let me just ask you this. What happens if we get to 2028, the inauguration in 2029, and there's zero deep state arrests, zero transparency, zero Doge, waste, fraud, and abuse, trillions of dollars annually, not stopped, no fraud arrests, no stopping of the stealing of our elections. The economy doesn't get any better. People continue to lose their homes, lose their cars, credit card debt, record high. What happens now? Oh, at least we got regime change in Venezuela? Oh, at least we got regime change in Iran? What? I'm just curious, what happens? What happens if 4 years go by, just like the first 4 years, and there's no deep state arrests, there's no draining of the swamp, there's no cleaning up of the elections, there's no shutting down the intelligence agency blackmail networks? I'm just curious, what happens? There's no Doge, and we get through it, and what are you guys going to do? You're going to celebrate what? We got regime change. We got more wars. Seriously, that's my question for you. So fine. So we have a political disagreement. You think I've changed? Point to one policy I've changed on. But I'm just curious. So you guys are all with the neocons now. You're all about foreign affairs and foreign propaganda and foreign wars. And now you counter signal the people that call it out. Okay, fine. Whatever. It's a disagreement. It's politics. I'm just asking you now. What happens in 4 years if all you get is more regime change wars and more foreign interests met, and none of the stuff that was supposed to be MAGA and the stuff that we stood against now takes over? I'm just curious what happens. Do you really think we're going to get another shot at this? Oh, but don't worry, it's all about Iran now. Oh, don't worry, it's all about the Middle East now. Oh, don't worry, it's all about Venezuela now, or wherever else they tell you to look and care about next. I just don't get it, man. What happened to you guys?
Okay. Sorry if I replayed that, but some people might have missed that one. I can't remember if I played it or not. Okay, this one is 24, then I'm going to follow that with Billy Bean. It's that one guy that talks about the free word. What's his name?
Veritas. So what's the First Amendment problem?
First Amendment problem is this should not have gone to a jury at all.
Anybody see this?
Record everything I hear here and I'll share it as I please. And then I can get away with it because I'll say it's First Amendment protected. Oh, come on.
And that's what investigative journalists do. This determination by this court decides whether undercover reporting can exist in the nation's capital moving forward.
Whether this Ms. Moz was a fiduciary or not If she was, then that's the end of muckraking.
Here are the issues before the Federal Appeals Court in Washington, D.C. Issue 1, is it fraudulent misrepresentation for an undercover reporter to misrepresent themselves and do undercover journalism in the District of Columbia? Does the alleged harm or damage come out of the infiltration or investigation itself or the publication of the video? Now, we're arguing here that the harm is coming out of the publication, therefore it's covered by the First Amendment. Sometimes journalism leads to people getting fired. Sometimes journalism leads to people losing their contracts because of the words that came out of their mouth. They're arguing the harm was due to the act of going undercover, which is, we think, is false. Issue 2, is there a fiduciary duty? Do I owe a fiduciary duty to the Hillary Clinton Democracy Partners people simply because I was undercover inside of them? More specifically, can our undercover intern, who is a part-time, unpaid, and who did not sign an NDA, can she have a fiduciary duty hoisted on them unilaterally? Now, we had litigated to a jury in D.C. in September of 2022. We won on 3 counts and lost on 2. This was a story involving a group called Democracy Partners, and Bob Creamer admitting they were paying people to bird dog at Trump events in 2016.
She was one of your activists who had been trained up to bird dogs. Yes. So the term bird dogging, you put people in the line at the front, which means they have to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they're getting the front of the rally so that when Trump comes down the rope line, they're the ones asking him the question in front of the reporters because they're pre-placed there.
Scott Fauval admits on the hidden camera they hire homeless people to do, quote, crazy shit, and they don't care what the legal and ethics people say, quote, we want to win this motherfucker.
I paid off a few homeless guys to do some crazy stuff, and I've also taken them for dinner, and I've also made sure they had a hotel.
It doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say.
How's this one, guys?
Bob Creamer was fired, the DNC cut the contracts, and Donald Trump mentioned these videos in the debate with Hillary Clinton in Las Vegas in 2016. Now, the undercover journalist Allison Moss had an unpaid internship, didn't sign the NDA, and got inside this group, wore a hidden camera while working for me at Project Veritas in 2016, and now Democracy Partners seeks $1 million in damages against me for, get this, breach of fiduciary duty, and at the time, unlawful interception of oral communications, trespass, fraudulent misrepresentation, and civil conspiracy. It goes to a D.C. jury trial in September of 2022. We litigate all the way to the end, and we lose. We get $120,000 in damages against us. Now, what's interesting in the case is the judge sent the jury back 2 times before they got the right decision. That's a story as well. But here, the issues in this case, we are fighting for the First Amendment itself, the right of a reporter to repeat back what someone tells them. One-party consent recording in Washington, D.C. As my attorney Ben Barr says, if it's fraudulent misrepresentation in this case, then undercover journalism is effectively banned. We'll show some audio from inside the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals and then go to correspondent Mike Casey, who was on the ground in Washington on Thursday to interview Ben Barr. Now, in the circuit courts, that's one above the federal district court and one below the Supreme Court, we present to a panel of 3 appellate judges. First, Judge Robert L. Wilkins, appointed by Obama, Judge Karen L. Henderson, appointed by George H.W. Bush, and Harry T. Edwards, appointed by Carter. Now we'll take you inside the courthouse there in D.C., where correspondent Mike Casey is standing by.
This is Michael Casey with O'Keefe Media Group reporting outside the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, where I just got out of oral arguments in the matter of Democracy Partners versus James O'Keefe, where both sides presented their arguments to a panel of 3 federal judges.
Good morning, Your Honors. My name is Benjamin Barr, and I represent the appellants, James O'Keefe and Allison Moss. I'd like to reserve 3 minutes for rebuttal. No non-disclosure agreement, no salary, no authority, just an unpaid intern clipping newspaper articles saving videos, taking messages. This is who Allison Moss was inside Democracy Partners, the lowest rung on the ladder. Yet because she recorded what she saw and later shared it with the public, the verdict below reimagines her as three things as once: a fraudster, a fiduciary, even a potential criminal. This inversion of reality should give pause to this court. If accepted, the appellee's theory would allow New York Times v. Sullivan to be nullified by creative pleading. Fiduciary law is meant to protect, is meant to restrain those with power, not to conscript the powerless into silence. Fraud is meant to remedy harmful deceit, not to punish truthful exposure. And the First Amendment does not tolerate a regime in which the least powerful person in the room is transformed into the guardian of Washington's political secrets. This court should restore common sense and reaffirm the constitutional principle that journalists may not be punished for truthful reporting simply because the truth was uncomfortable.
Ben Barr also argued that this should have never gone before a jury ever, and he believes they made an impassioned decision that was hasty and rushed. That's why James O'Keefe appealed this, and that's why it's in court now.
My understanding is that there was no objection below to the jury instructions on fraudulent misrepresentation.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And those jury instructions made clear that the verdict wasn't based on publication, it was based on infiltration, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what's the First Amendment problem?
First Amendment problem is this should not have gone to a jury at all. As a matter of law, it should have already been decided in favor of the appellants. And this was raised both at motion to dismiss, summary judgment, Rule 50A.
At issue here is the idea that the lawsuit wasn't over defamation. I was not sued for defamation. They're not alleging that what you're seeing isn't true. Everything that you saw in the videos happened. They didn't litigate that. Now, at trial, they tried to make hyperbolic arguments about selective editing. They tried to sneak a defamation style case into this case. But this is over the idea that the undercover infiltration itself led to the suspension of the contracts and the damage. But the problem is, it was the publication of the footage that led to all these things happening. For example, if we didn't publish anything, people would not have been fired. If the video didn't get 7 million views on YouTube, I doubt anybody would have cared. If Donald Trump didn't talk about it at the debate, this wouldn't be a lawsuit. So all of this flies in the face of the First Amendment itself. In other words, it's not a fact issue, it's a legal issue. And there's a lot of Supreme Court precedent that we mentioned in this hearing. Hustler v. Falwell, New York Times versus Sullivan.
What we're saying is that the harm that stems from misrepresentation has to arrive directly out of that infiltration or misrepresentation. But where there are publication issues in front, where there's news gathering involved, if the alleged harm stems from the publication, then we have a profound First Amendment issue here.
So what's the First Amendment problem?
First Amendment problem is this should not have gone to a jury at all. As a matter of law, it should have already been decided in favor of the appellant. Cohen says that we look to laws of general applicability in that those don't offend the First Amendment with some special journalistic immunity. And we're not arguing in favor of any sort of journalistic immunity. We're arguing about proximate cause here, and that where there's an intervening publication that causes the damage at issue, that you have to meet New York Times v. Sullivan standard. Otherwise, you're maneuvering around, just as Hustler said, and that can't be done, whether a jury's blessed that or not, as a matter of law. That's where we're at. And the publication, the fact that this is a publication damage, tracks with clock-like precision the exact timeline here. And it's similar to what happened in Food Line.
Now, Food Line was a case in the 1990s where ABC News, Diane Sawyer, and her outfit was sued for, quote, fraudulent misrepresentation when the reporters went undercover in the grocery store, put hidden cameras in their wigs, and filmed the meat being bleached. Now, that lawsuit was overturned in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in North Carolina. What's interesting about that is that these cases might go to the Supreme Court on the First Amendment rights of an undercover journalist.
And there are lots of cases where folks come away saying, but I don't really like the jury result. And I have a good argument. Maybe, but if the jury did what it was supposed to do and they were properly instructed, you lose.
And here the jury didn't do what they were supposed to do. Cohen stands in tension with cases like New York Times v. Sullivan and Hustler. Hustler reminds this court
Cohen takes care of your so-called Hustler argument, and you have no answer for that.
Well, the answer is twofold. One, that it shouldn't have gone to the jury as a matter of law.
Yeah, I understand you say that.
Yeah, and this court as constitutional gatekeeper has its own duty to review the whole record below and to see that the damages were tied to publication, not to the infiltration. Second, that we meet the high standard here, that when we look at this timeline that I just walked through, this lines up perfectly with Food Lion. It lines up perfectly with Desnick. In other sister circuits, finding that where the evidence points towards a finding that the harm comes out of embarrassment from this publication, then we have a hustler problem, a Food Lion problem, and the like.
What also stood out to me was they argued that she had a fiduciary duty. Fiduciary duty is reserved mostly for major corporate CEOs, the biggest managers of the biggest companies, not for unpaid interns, not for undercover journalists. Journalists have fiduciary duties now to companies? That has never been heard of before, ever. And as Ben Barr pointed out, there's been numerous cases in sister circuit courts that have fiduciary duties for major CEOs, but never for an unpaid intern, never for a journalist. This would be the first of its kind.
We turn to fiduciary duty and the finding of a fiduciary duty owed by Allison Moss to Democracy Partners. That, of course, is the predicate for the wiretapping claims here. Of course, in D.C., it's an open-ended test. That doesn't mean a boundless test. What is the nature of the relationship, the promises made, the types of services or advice given, legitimate expectations of the parties. But immediate problems here are that fiduciary obligations arise only in rare relationships of heightened trust, independence, where one party proposes a special confidence in the other, and the other accepts that, sort of a meeting of the minds. Mouse was a temporary, unpaid intern, not an officer, not an advisor. She wasn't entrusted with managing any sort of affairs. She had no contract, no confidentiality agreement, no decision-making power within the organization.
And you walk out of the room and say, good, I'm going to record everything I hear here and I'll share it as I please. And then I can get away with it because I'll say it's First Amendment protected. Oh, come on.
Well, yes, no, Your Honor, absolutely yes. But that's what investigative journalists do, and that's why major reforms.
They do, but sometimes they may take a chance. That's what this case is raising. It has to be within the law.
It has to.
But there may be a risk.
We're not arguing any sort of special journalistic immunity.
Right. The Supreme Court has said no, you can't win on that.
No, we can't. Absolutely not. But what we can win on is the fact that this is, again, related to publication damages, and that the finding of a fiduciary standard here is absurd.
Now, then one of the judges pointed out that if this fiduciary standard applies, if there's a fiduciary duty of a reporter in D.C. with one-party consent, she says, quote, there's no more muckraking.
Can I ask you a question that, unless I'm misreading the record, whether this Ms. Moss was a fiduciary or not, and I don't think she was. If she was, then that's the end of muckraking.
I take your point, Your Honor. Yes, it's absolutely important. And to your point, this determination by this court decides whether undercover reporting can exist in the nation's capital moving forward. And we'd ask that you reverse and remand accordingly.
I do have one question.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
You agree that Creamer is a limited purpose public figure.
Yes, Mr. Creamer is well known, involved in political circles, is married to a former congresswoman from Chicago. I think that adequately meets New York Times v. Sullivan public figure status test.
Then a man named Mr. Sandler, that's the attorney for Bob Creamer, took over.
Defendants claimed in their reply brief, and counsel alluded to it, that if the verdict in this case is allowed to stand, it would, quote, set a dangerous precedent, effectively ending undercover reporting and investigative journalism.
Mr. Sandler, I'm very hard of hearing. Could you either get closer to the microphone or get it closer to you?
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Okay, thank you, sir. So defendants claim in their reply brief that if the verdict in this case is allowed to stand, it would, quote, set a dangerous precedent, effectively ending undercover reporting and investigative journalism, end quotes. And leaving aside that this verdict has stood for more than 3 years with no noticeable effect on investigative reporting or journalism, that assertion is simply not true. And it's not true because With respect to the fraudulent misrepresentation count, the district court, 2 different judges who presided over this case, indeed kept the First Amendment constraints, the Hustler Doctrine, top of mind, such that, in the words of the district court itself, that court, quotes, only permitted plaintiffs to proceed to trial with claims predicated on harms caused by defendants' non-expressive conduct. In particular, the jury was carefully instructed to that effect, as the counsel's exchange with Judge Wilkins noted, and defendants do not challenge those instructions in this appeal. The expressive conduct, the non-expressive conduct that was found to be a proximate cause of the damages sustained by Mr. Kramer and his company was the infiltration by Ms. Moss of the offices of Democracy Partners. And that included not only access to the private offices in that company, but also inside the headquarters building of the Democratic National Committee and of a major labor union. The access was, evidence showed that the access was all made possible by an elaborate web of falsehoods and misrepresentations, and that in the course of that infiltration, Ms. Moss videoed literally everything she saw and heard all day long without regard to whether the person she was taping was the subject of any journalistic interest, just taping everything to see if anything interesting turned up, including people she didn't even know who they were when she started the day.
And nothing did. Nothing that she recorded or taped or looked at or whatever was the subject of a publication.
That is, yes, that is true. That is true. And that's right. The actual contents of the video, virtually entirely a conversationist with Mr. Fovel recorded in a bar with Mr. Kramer in a hotel lobby and in a restaurant. We didn't challenge any of that because it didn't, that wasn't, had we challenged that, that was embarrassing. And you selectively edited it. Then we would have had to meet the Hustler standard and show and tried it as, pleaded it and tried it as a defamation case, but that wasn't the case here. The jury found that a proximate cause was the infiltration itself, and if the issue is whether a reasonable jury could have found, with all inferences resolved in plaintiff's favor, that a substantial factor in the decision of AFSCME to cancel its contract with Mr. Kramer's company, Stooges Consulting.
What do you think if the video had not come out and that this Miss Moss just had all this collected stuff and she either kept it or gave it to O'Keefe, that this organization that Scott Fry heads up would even know about it, would have any reason to cancel the contract?
It would be speculative whether Mr. Kramer would have mentioned if the video had not come out, they wouldn't even know that the whole thing was the whole internship was a fake.
To your point, Judge Withers, we are asking a lot. I understand this is a unique case. This is about the borderline of protecting First Amendment rights as a constitutional gatekeeper under Bose. And to Judge Henderson's point, Claymore, Hustler both indicate juries get impassioned about these sorts of issues. They decide these issues wrong, and where the First Amendment is implicated, there is a role for this court to be involved, different from almost any other case that would be before this court. I just want to reemphasize that here. The finding of a fiduciary duty here is incredibly difficult and absurd in comparison to what we have shown nationwide and within DC in terms of precedent. There is absolutely no evidence from the record below of direct instructions from Democracy Partners about confidentiality.
OMG correspondent Mike Casey caught up with my lawyer, Ben Barr, outside the courthouse and asked for his take on how it went.
I'm here right outside the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals with Attorney for James O'Keefe, Ben Barr in this case. Ben, nice to meet you. Can you give us your synopsis of how this oral arguments went today?
Nice to meet you, Mike. Yeah, it was a terrific argument from the D.C. Circuit. This is Democracy Partners v. James O'Keefe and Allison Moss, and it's about testing the boundaries of undercover journalism. When an undercover journalist goes into an operation, do they commit fraud by telling white lies to an organization so they can report on information to the American public? You know, past undercover reporting case law, ABC used to do these sorts of things all the time in the 90s. The case law says for the First Amendment, that's not the sort of fraud that we punish in America. So if you're going out, you're telling these innocent white lies, and you're doing so to produce newsworthy information to the American public, that's protected. And it's especially poignant here in the Capitol. This is where Watergate occurred. This is the home of numerous scandals, and we need that ability to be able to show this to the American public, not to use fake trumped up torts about owing some high-level duty by an intern to a group. Undercover reporters don't have that. Not fraud, not unless a journalist goes in and commits a serious wrong. I'm all for you hold journalists accountable if they go in and they overstep. And there have been times when that happens. That's not this case. This is a special case about press freedom, even whistleblower freedom within this town. And we don't want to shut down the ability of investigative undercover journalists from doing this in the future. Your precedent will carry ramifications here and throughout the country. Please decide this correctly.
Yes, and you had a good back and forth with Judge Henderson regarding this, how you said this shouldn't have gone to a jury trial at all.
Correct. Well, so the Supreme Court has particular cases, and Hustler v. Falwell is one in particular, dealing with a very incendiary, difficult issue where Hustler magazine portrayed the Reverend Falwell in a very unfriendly light, and Hustler won their case because Falwell claimed, well, that this hurt me so. It was an intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the jury found that to be true. So it's similar to what we heard Judge Edwards say today. Well, the jury already decided this, and I politely reminded Judge Edwards, I don't know how many times that juries often get these things wrong. And Hustler says, when we interject First Amendment core issues and we have controversial subjects, in Hustler, a pornography magazine, here an undercover journalism outfit, juries often get it wrong. They get impassioned, and we don't trust core liberties to juries. We say that as a matter of law, an elite judge trained in the law, steeped in constitutional tradition, should interject and say, no, this is off limits. No matter what their opinion is of this, it is protected expression, and we allow that in America.
Another great irony in this whole episode is that Project Veritas fired me, and part of the reason the board did, or one of the many seemingly absurd reasons, is that I spent too much money on litigation, that I should not be litigating this case all the way to the Supreme Court, that I should spend those resources on other things. But it wasn't me that recorded these recordings. It wasn't me that was out there in the field. That would have been Christian Hartsock. And one of the great ironies is that, we find ourselves taking bullets for those people personally, even right now, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that we're indemnifying their reporting, because we're the face, or I'm the face of the organization, and therefore I take on that responsibility and that liability. But you kind of have to stand in awe of the irony of them wanting to be the face without wanting that accompanying responsibility. That's a story for another day.
Okay, that was a new one we haven't heard in a while. That came out, so that was important. First Amendment. Chico. 1919 is the time.
Train, Minnesota. Israel tests tactical nukes, and the U.S. hardens its grid, and President Trump has Iran in his crosshairs. Ayatollah covers his butt, and a Russian sub in the Gulf of America And Minnesota Somalis steal, we know now, billions of dollars. But they've also been secretly shipping it out of the U.S. in luggage. So let's get started. We're going to begin with space weather. Today we have a strong solar wind hitting the Earth at 1.6 million miles per hour that could generate a G1 geomagnetic storm today. And we've had several earthquakes overnight. We had one just off of the coast of Oregon. So we've got this, Washington, Oregon. We had earthquake here, a 6.0. In the Cascadia subduction zone, it's believed this was caused by a uptick of the axial seamount. Now, the axial seamount is about, I think, 16,000 miles down. But once it fully erupts, it's going to impact the West Coast. This action right here has generated smaller earthquakes into California. And this disruption in the Cascadia, axial seamount, Cascadia, could generate the big one for California. So it's good to keep our eyes on that. Plus the Costco's plate. We had that several years ago from Mike from Around the World, that anything that affects this plate is going to impact the San Andreas fault line. So that's going on. We also had in Israel a 4.0 underneath the Dimona nuclear power plant, and it's believed from some sources that Israel was testing the triggers on its tactical nukes, preparatory to a joint U.S.-Israel strike, a decisive strike. That's what President Trump wants, to hit Iran massively and take down the current regime. So that's going on. And we have this. We have the Marines in California. That's going to be at the 29 Palms military base. We have Marines training to hit Minnesota should President Trump sign the Insurrection Act.
Hey.
And the group going in will be Marine Special Forces, Marine Raiders. They're currently training at 29 Palms. They've been training since January 9.
Chico saying aye.
And this is at the Marine Corps Combat Center in the Mojave Desert. They are training for an urban battlefield and doing drills. 500 Marines are training. And their training includes dispersal of crowds using non-lethal methods, rubber bullets, tear gas, flashbang grenades, plus asset protection of ICE agents. They will also use drones to provide real-time intel. But make no mistake about it, if the Marines are fired upon by the paid communist agitators, we believe paid by a CCP foreign agent, Singham, and also Soros, emblematic of the deep state. Because take it from me as an American citizen, American citizens don't stand out in streets for hours in below freezing temperatures to protest. We use social media, which the U.S. government closely monitors to see what are the American people talking about. So these paid communist agitators in Minnesota, aided and abetted by the commie Dem governor of Minnesota and other Minnesota government groups, we believe if they don't stop this, they are certainly going to be reckoned with by the American God, the American people, and President Trump, who, if he signs the Insurrection Act, has a Marine Raiders group, special forces, all ready to go in. Way to go, President Trump, to take down domestic terrorists. And we have this from Justin News.
Save $28 or more when you join Planet Fitness for $1 down, $15 a month.
However you book, first check Kayak to compare prices from hundreds of travel sites on the hotel you want. Then do what people do. Recheck sites.
So it appears that Congress is investigating Somali nationals in Minnesota. We understand they've stolen billions of dollars from the U.S. government, but it's coming out now they're being investigated. Somali nationals from Somalia coming into the U.S., going to Minnesota, loading up their luggage with millions of dollars of U.S. cash and taking it out of the U.S. Congress is investigating. And it's believed this has been, them taking the cash out of the U.S. has been going on since President Trump was elected. We have Senate Homeland Committee in the Senate, led by Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, putting forth a resolution to investigate Somali nationals coming into the U.S., stuffing their suitcases with U.S. cash and taking it out of the country from Minnesota. So that's going on. We have this from Zero Hedge. President Trump, it's believed, has a plan to remove BRICS nations from influence, and I would say a literal embedding in North and South America. BRICS is a economic group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And oh yeah, Ramaphosa of South Africa, we believe, is also on the list of regime change countries. And President Trump appears to be using the Monroe Doctrine principles to eliminate foreign influences in North America and South America. President Trump has the step of using 100% tariffs on countries who also want to de-dollar, stop using the U.S. dollar. We know the U.S. dollar is tied to oil, and we see the U.S. taking control of oil in Venezuela and very soon in Iran. And we noticed today that Russia's oil profits have gone down significantly recently. I submit that would be directly correlated to the U.S. taking over Venezuela and the U.S. military continuing to take control of the shadow oil tankers going both to Russia and China. So that's going on. And we have this. So we have so in the Gulf of America, we have right now, this is going on. So we have Venezuela down here. This is Mexico, the Yucatan, which we understand is one of the freest areas of drug cartel activity in Mexico. And we understand we have a Russian sub right in this area. The U.S. military is using P-8 Poseidons to look for it. And of course, from a Russian sub, a hypersonic missile could be launched that would reach America in 5 minutes. So we have real military threats going on. And we have this. This is intel. So yesterday, I put out that information that President Trump had sent B-2 stealth bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri to Iran. And that was to take out a prison and take out the Iranian government servers. And that was near Karachi, Iran. And when that happened, the Iranian theocracy government, that means a theocracy, a government ruled by religion, stopped its plans to hang protesters and also stopped its plans to shoot with machine guns protesters in the streets. So that happened yesterday. After that happened, also, Iran opened its airspace, and U.S. military were repositioned in military bases in Qatar.
National University, the perfect school for his bachelor's degree. National University's 4-week courses with monthly...
This is a wait-and-see operation. As President Trump moves carrier strike groups into the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea,
I'll do the short one.
I believe it's the Roosevelt carrier group, the Bush carrier group, and one other. So President Trump's directions to the U.S. military was that he wanted a decisive strike on Iran. So the U.S. continues to stage its assets. So that's going on. And we have also yesterday, President Trump received 2 diplomatic messages from Russia and China to stop what they're doing in Iran. It's also coming out that Russia has, permanent military troops and equipment inside Iran, and that it is Russia who is jamming the Starlink signals to take down the ability of the Iranian people to get out to the world what's actually happening. So we see Russia engaged in a military action against the people of Iran. And we have this. We have that, yes, and the diplomatic messages yesterday from Russia and China to President Trump, if the U.S. hits Iran, it would lead to World War III. I personally don't believe that, because I believe the U.S. is just getting started and bringing out unknown weapons that are much more lethal than nukes, but don't produce the radiation. So that's going on. And we have this. So we have a resistance leader in Iran, Rajani, who brings out information that in the past 20 years, 100,000 Iranians have been killed by its theocracy government. because the government in Iran operates solely for the benefit of the Ayatollah's son, the mullahs, the IRGC, and so forth. Nothing for the Iranian people. If they don't have food, water, electricity, medicine, so what? This is how this evil and corrupt government in Iran has been operating for decades. And if the people rise up, shoot them down, which is what we are seeing now. So this resistance leader, Rajani, says that the current resistance, the current people rising up in Iran is larger. It's all 31 provinces or states. We know it's now grown to almost 250 cities, and that it includes all levels of Iranian society: students, blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, middle class, and older people. So as I've put forth, I believe the Iranian people have decided in their hearts to be martyrs. Give us liberty or give us death. So that's going on. And this resistance leader puts forth a group he leads, a National Core Resistance of Iran. And he says their objectives are, in 6 months, have democratic elections, that there is gender equality in Iran, and that there's a separation between religion and state or government, that autonomy be given to the Kurds, and that the court system in Iran be an independent branch, and that there is freedom for multiple political parties to rise to reflect the desires of the Iranian people, and that these objectives by the National Core Resistance of Iran has been codified 20 years ago. So we see that going on. And now for Martin Armstrong, globally famous economist who has offices all over the world, and he gets good intel. The Ayatollah Khamenei works to cover his butt and that of his son by sending out of Iran $1.5 billion in the last 48 hours. And most of it going out in the form of crypto, which the U.S. intel is tracking. And it is going to banks inside Dubai. Currently, the UAE has also frozen Iranian bank accounts in that country. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay.
So, you think you know what...
At least we got that one Adam Keefe, what's the name, that one, and a few other ones tonight. Now we'll finish off with the short ones. Uh-oh, someone's getting a cold, Gabe. Looks like
Members of her own party are now openly urging Democrats not to send a single dollar for her Senate race because she's that uncompetitive. And this while Elizabeth Warren says she's got the winning formula for 2026. Let's just say Republicans are really going to love her ideas. Then back in Minnesota, tensions are exploding over the latest developments in ICE operations. I'm going to show you what the agents are up against today. Plus, we do a welfare check on the left, as we like to do here, and brace yourself. We have a quickly growing mental health crisis on our hands. Then I'm going to bring you the latest on rising tensions in Tehran and what President Trump is expected to do next. As always, like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and hit that notification bell to make sure you never miss the latest headlines. Well, as the midterms heat up, Jasmine Crockett is suddenly discovering unity right around the same time she discovers she needs votes.
What is your message for Hispanic voters in Texas?
I can't remember if I played this one or not.
And the general.
Yeah.
What's your message to those voters? Why should they vote for you?
So here's the deal.
Yes,
I want us to
video
remain
wall.
united. I think that is so important. And the last election, it was clear that we allowed certain forces to divide us. I want to unite us. And we need to be united in our struggle.
First of all, the only people dividing Democrats are Democrats. This party thrives on divisive language, identity politics, and manufactured chaos. Second, this unity tour is anything but authentic. Let's not forget, Crockett recently said she didn't need Trump supporters, which, inconveniently for her, includes a majority of Hispanic voters in Texas.
How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to.
Okay, I know it's early, but let's recap. A month ago, she didn't need those voters. Jasmine Crockett, she is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Remember,
That was that one.
on the record that illegal immigrants are participating in our elections. You have to see the reaction from the Oversight Committee. I mean, it is pure shock. The representative questioning him, she looks like she knew what was happening, but could not believe a Democrat actually just said it out loud. And just to set it up for you, the reason this was even possible in the first place is because Governor Tim Walz signed a bill back in 2023 that basically turned driver's license into a free-for-all, open season for anyone, legal or not. And once an illegal immigrant has that license, the door to the ballot box just swings wide open. Here's Minnesota's director of elections making the bombshell admission just yesterday.
We give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever. So then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Minnesota's own director of elections just admitted on the record that illegal.
Okay, let's see what we got going here. You guys remember this one? I can't remember if I played this one.
American cities, overthrown a foreign head of state, threatened a military takeover of Greenland, and rewritten the history of January 6th. As Liz Landers reports, the administration has rolled out a campaign across departments that draws on images and ideas borrowed from right-wing and white nationalist circles.
From the U.S. Department of Labor, a message. One homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. It's a video that appears to be part of a campaign now ramping up to sell the administration's efforts to the American people. For example, calling on potential ICE recruits to, quote, defend the homeland from outsiders while featuring heroic images of white men, often from a bygone era.
We played it or
Then
not.
there's this tweet from Friday, an ICE recruitment ad featuring the turn of phrase, "We'll have our home again," plastered over an image of a man on horseback and a stealth bomber flying in the distance. That's a reference to the song "We'll Have Our Home Again," a white supremacist anthem favored by the Proud Boys.
Oh my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home.
Another image tells supporters to, quote, trust the plan, the slogan of the right-wing conspiracy theory known as QAnon, which posits there's a global cabal of pedophiles and deep state actors trafficking children and that Trump is fighting it. It's also a movement heavily involved in the insurrection on January 6, 2021.
What do you guys think, you guys?
Last week,
This
the Trump
new one?
administration published a new website rewriting that history to blame Democrats for security failures that day and to justify the president's pardoning of more than 1,500 defendants. Weighing in on another era, last week President Trump also sat for a lengthy interview with the New York Times. He was asked about the civil rights movement and told reporters that while the landmark legislation did some good things, he said, quote, "It also hurt a lot of people that deserve to go to a college or deserve to get a job were unable to get a job. So it was a reverse discrimination." A day later, Trump supporter and billionaire Elon Musk wrote 100 above this message on X, which read in part, quote, "If white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. White solidarity is the only way to survive." That's known as the Great Replacement Theory, popular in white nationalist circles that falsely claims the white population is being intentionally replaced by non-whites. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Liz Landers.
For more context on what some of these images and posts mean and why the Trump administration is using them, we turn now to Cynthia Miller-Idris, director of the Polarization and Extremism Research Innovation Lab at American University. Welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen some of these messages before, but this ramping up of their delivery and from multiple official administration accounts, what does all of that signal to you at this point, nearly 1 year into this administration?
Yeah, it does feel like a turning point in the propaganda campaign, if you will, in the shift to try to change people's minds about what's happening. I think they feel we're at a moment when ICE has a 57% disapproval rating, I heard today, where it's the second least liked federal agency, only after the IRS. And so, we have a moment when the American public is seeing what's happening, are watching abuses, are watching cell phone video, especially the recent murder of a protester. That, I think, is why we're seeing this kind of campaign to try to position what ICE is doing as in the public interest, as safety, and of course, with a lot of dog whistles, or sometimes not even dog whistles, making racist and conspiratorial claims about what would happen if they don't do it.
Let's take just a closer look at some of the examples that Liz was just citing there, because some people will look at this and say, I don't see anything wrong with this. There's the painting, for example, this 1870s painting called American Progress, was posted by Homeland Security. It features a sort of manifest destiny tableau. It talks about a heritage worth protecting. Why is that significant? Why this reliance on this sort of old imagery and this messaging, this language?
Yeah, propaganda messaging relies on people's memories of other images that they might associate with positive things even. So we'll see even terrorist groups use things like civil rights iconographic messaging or women's rights iconography to sort of position themselves as a liberating force from oppressors. We see in that particular image, not just a woman flying over, a white woman carrying a textbook, right? A really interesting part that is known as a kind of education is going to lead the way. We're going to claim what we can about knowledge and make sure that people believe as we claim more space at a moment when we're also invading Venezuela and making threats about Greenland.
He's not part of the administration technically, but to have Elon Musk openly retweeting white nationalist language, why is that significant?
Well, this kind of white nationalist language, when it's conspiratorial, it's been linked to terrorist attacks in Pittsburgh, in El Paso, in Buffalo. I mean, that was the motivating in Christchurch, New Zealand, in Oslo, Norway. I mean, hundreds of people have died because of that conspiracy theory, because people believe there is a dire threat posed by multicultural societies and that someone is orchestrating it to make white people disappear. And so that is dangerous.
There's also this piece that Liz reported on in a recent interview the president gave, articulating his views on the civil rights movement, which is the Black-led equal rights push to end legal discrimination and segregation in this country. He said it hurt a lot of people and ended in reverse discrimination. What does that tell you about where these ideas are coming from and how they're making their way to the president of the United States?
Yeah, I think I think we're seeing several different things in that statement. I think one of the things we're seeing is an unedited version of a belief system that has possibly always been there. It's not just new advisors, suggesting something. It is a belief that white men are losing ground and that something has to be done to restore male standards, as we heard the Secretary of Defense say recently to the military, or Mark Zuckerberg, that what we really need is masculine energy in the corporate sector, right? So these kind of gloves are off, right? There's no more hiding those kinds of statements. And I think President Trump is an example of someone who has always believed that kind of thing and is now feeling more emboldened or empowered to say it.
These are ideas, as you've noted and tracked, they've long been simmering below the surface. Now they're sort of out in the open. You also cited a number of other big things that are going on the planet right now. And as a result of U.S. policy, when you see historically these kinds of campaigns, propaganda pushes, is it because they're trying to get a message out, or is it distraction from something else?
It's both. So one of the things we see is that one of the very first things undemocratic leaders do is to try to confuse people, to say there's alternative facts. There are other ways of seeing the world, to undermine journalism, the media, academics, expertise, scientists, to basically say this isn't true, whether that's about vaccines or about what we saw in a video was who shot and why a woman who was protesting. So that kind of confusion is what Hannah Arendt said about the Nazis, that when you get people to stop knowing what's true and false, it's very easy for them to stop knowing what's right and wrong. And so I think that's one of the first things we see, is that confuse, and then flood the zone with a lot of different things happening all at once.
Cynthia Miller-Idris of American University, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, that was interesting. Okay, this last one will be 10 minutes.
Dollars of taxpayer money for water in Kenya.
So we decided to visit their headquarters in DC during their business hours, but no one was there.
What's the next investigation? What are we doing?
Millennium Water Alliance. It's supposed to be one big building with 4 or 5 different nonprofits that have collected together $4.6 million last year in grants. 1101 Connecticut Ave Northwest. Millennium Water Alliance doesn't exist here. Millennium Water Alliance. Okay.
No, it doesn't exist.
Okay. You said you've never heard of them before?
No, they probably never heard of them.
It says that this is the address, right?
This is the address.
I'm on the phone, my supervisor.
They don't exist here?
No.
Wow. It says their address is here. We came to talk to them about it, but you've never heard of them?
No.
Okay. Suite 450.
Oh, okay. He said Suite 450.
1101 Connect.
You can sign it for me because they are mail carrier.
What is it?
Mail carrier?
Yeah. Yeah, so they pick up their mail from them. They don't use their office.
So there's no office, but we can go up there essentially.
Yeah, you can go there and ask the front desk.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
They signed it for me.
Okay.
So no one from that company actually works here. It's just they pick up mail here.
Yeah.
Oh,
More fraud, you guys.
interesting.
More fraud.
Is there an office though, or it's just a mailbox?
No, it's a office. It's an office space at this.
Oh, okay, but this is for mail.
It's a shared workspace, so it's a lot of companies up there.
Oh, it's a
But
shared
you can
workspace.
ask the front desk person when you get up there.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thanks.
Before we got to the place, we had a suspicion that this was actually an office that was shared by many other companies, and we were right.
As we were entering the elevator, we happened to run into the floor manager for that floor that was dropping his key back off and knew where their office was at. You too.
Is this 450? Millennium Water Alliance?
Well, that's where it says they're at. Oh,
there
right
you
here.
go. Yeah, they're I haven't seen them today. I'll show you.
Okay.
That's not cool.
7 minutes.
Oh, I see. 426, I think so. Yeah, I don't think they're here yet if you're supposed to meet them. This is their office.
Oh,
okay.
Are they typically here, or is?
No.
Oh, they're
Right,
never
just
here?
like dropping in.
Yeah, well, we were trying to do an interview with one of the people from the foundation or from the. Oh, this is all it is?
This office, yeah.
Oh, we thought it was like a big.
Well, the way they have it on the internet, it looks like it's like a crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a sophisticated.
They might have like this could be like a satellite office.
Their only other address is in Kenya.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, like because this is like a co-work.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
it. But
like
so
a WeWork.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
typically empty though. Like it's not really.
Like they'll come in here on like they never use the office. They're always like in the
Oh, just hang,
the kitchen area.
Yeah,
or
just
something,
hanging
like,
out. But there's a lot of people at least, or is it like a few people?
They're like 4 people that are
Oh.
regular, but they'll have like conferences here with,
okay.
with some people. So
Well, I guess that's not
they
gonna work
definitely
out.
aren't in here very like regularly at all. Like I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
they're
it-
definitely going to be here on a Tuesday or something.
Oh,
like that.
it's just
Very-
random.
very sporadic. Like I saw them, which is it's Friday. I saw them on Wednesday. I don't know when I saw them months before that.
Oh, because online it
Okay.
looks like they're a big thing, and they got all these like millions of dollars from the government and stuff
Well,
like
I think
that.
they do. Like they're definitely a big organization.
Yeah.
This is where are they at?
And then this is where they, if they need to have a meeting, they come here now.
Cool. Okay.
Well, all right.
We'll come back when they're, I guess,
uh,
open again.
Yeah.
Well, no, we might have to start dropping up every day.
Yeah, randomly.
we don't know when they're here.
All right, so basically what happened is we went to this office. The guy showed us exactly where it's at. And he said that really it's one tiny little office here, and that you never know when you're going to see the people. They can drop in randomly. There's about 4 people, he said, that will randomly come in. But it's not like it's a bustling office space.
And the other thing is we're looking for National Cybersecurity Alliance that gets $500,000 in grants, and it's not here. And the lady at the front said that she's never heard of this before or anything.
Yeah, well, this is literally it. This is. You want to go check out the office again?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go do that real quick.
So this is where millions of dollars go to.
Of federal taxpayer money. Something like this receive millions and millions of dollars worth of grants, or should a legitimate small business afford it? Because this is what gets millions of dollars. Look at it. No even tag, right? So at the front, if you didn't have that directory there, you wouldn't know that. There's a couple that have tags, like for example, like April May Company. I saw one back there for like a media group. That makes sense, right? But to be this big organization, Alliance Water, all this stuff.
Yeah, you're doing a bunch of stuff in Kenya. And,
yeah.
But there's no. That's all it is. So that's a little weird, right? Wouldn't you think? Like you're getting millions of dollars, you're in a co-working space, not even with your own office space. Like the guy even said they're not in the office ever. They're just. He said they hang out in the lobby. Like they just hang out in the lobby, but they're not really in that. I mean, think about it. 4 people in that tiny little office is probably $300 a month.
No.
It's probably literally this. That's what $4 million gets you. See, I'm gonna grab some coffee.
What do we think, boys?
Well, no sign of Millennium Water. Well, there is a
Well,
sign.
there is a sign.
There is a sign. I'm sorry. There's
Well,
no
technically,
sign.
there's no sign.
There's no sign
because they're not there. It's a dark place. It's a WeWork tiny space. What would you say? 50 square feet?
50 square feet, one desk, one or two chairs. What's their grant from the government?
This company has received almost $35 million in our taxpayers' money, and we have their entire sheets of grants going all the way back to 2009. And the latest award that they received in 2023 was to use various systems to try and make water cleaner overseas, specifically in Kenya. And we always think about this, how can this actually be part of making America stronger when we have places in America that could receive this $3 million, like Flint, to clean their water and to make things better?
Because of the work that Doge and Elon Musk and President Trump did, this program was actually terminated and is no longer active. So that's the good news. But we want to highlight how ridiculous the spending and the wasting and the mismanagement of money was up until very recently.
Yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't for Doge, under this administration, they would have renewed their contract or have gotten another award, because we can see based on the graphs that we have here that even under Trump's previous administration, his first term, he even gave more money, not him specifically, but under his administration, this nonprofit received more money than it did in the previous years under Obama. We even have Millennium Water Alliance's 2023 fiscal year report, where we can see that total USAID foreign assistance for programs overseas was $1.3 million, close to $1.4 million.
This isn't just this one solitary NGO that we found. We found this one pretty easy. We just happened to go visit them and find that there was no one working in the office. They have one office space that's in a shared building where they had a few employees that just kind of come and go as they please on their laptops, don't visit the office. So there's a lot of weird stuff happening here, but this is just one of thousands and thousands and thousands of these similar organizations just sucking the American taxpayer dry and giving the money overseas.
And knowing that they have the office space located in DC, they're constantly able to go to the SBA every year. I believe you looked into this, and to get a loan at a relatively really nice rate, simply because they have a space located in DC, because their only other headquarters is in Kenya.
Millennium Water Alliance doesn't exist here?
Never heard of them.
We found an NGO that received $35 million of tax.
I don't know, you guys. Oh, that's another fraud scheme, right? We got the daycare center. We got now the water place. Wonder how much more they got hiding. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for tonight, you guys. Tomorrow night at 6, everyone have a good weekend. And if anything comes up, I'll be on the big videos. So thanks, Kay and Lucy, Tim, and kind of quiet in chat tonight. So everybody, us, remember, please hit the like, sub to the, go to the description box on the backup channels. Thanks. And signing off, or God bless, stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, never give up. Signing off, Chico Dude, till tomorrow night. Have a good one, you guys. See you tomorrow.